The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
You're listening to In the Corner with Benny Mac. Unfiltered, uncensored, and unforgiving. Here's the man in the corner, Benny Mac.
Welcome to In the Corner. Hope you're having a good week. Hope you had a good weekend. It's been absolutely boiling here in the UK, and I'm sure many of you are aware of that. It is the 12th of July 2022. And welcome to the SJP World Media Network. I want to thank Si for giving this show a chance, really. Just myself this week on the podcast. It's been a while since I've done a show by myself, to be totally honest with you. But I think I can remember how to do this. This is In the Corner. Obviously, our first show was the Money in the Bank review. Like I said on the review, I think the pay-per-view did a good job of what it needed to do. I think it's leading up to SummerSlam. How's the stories are going? Man, it's so hot in this room. I've got my fan on over here, so I'm assuming you can't hear it. But man, it's so warm. I've got a cold drink with a absolute loads of ice in it to try and keep me going because we've got a lot to cover. We will talk about Raw. It happened last night, obviously. We're not going to go through the whole 3 hours of it, to be honest. Try and just pick some of the highlights for myself. Obviously, let me know on Twitter what you think at In The Corner WWE. Let me know. There is a couple of comments, actually. I asked about yesterday, I think I put it out on Twitter, with everything going on with certain WWE officials, let's focus on the wrestling, which is what I want to do. I mean, we will cover some of this stuff outside WWE at some point. I just want to kind of let it play out and see what comes to light and what more else is going to happen, because I think regardless of how this is going, I think Vince McMahon probably needs to let go of the reins. And because I noticed he's basically made himself, he's still head of creative, but he's not the COO anymore, I think, or CEO. So others are doing that. I know Stephanie McMahon is like essentially the interim chairman, I think, as I sit here with you now. I mean, I'm checked upon it, to be honest. Like I said, we're going to cover more of that probably next week, to be totally honest. It's quite a big old thing to go, and so I just wanted to focus on the wrestling really and what's going on. And we're not that far away from SummerSlam. That is obviously we'll talk about that in a little bit, but July 30th. So we are just over 2 weeks away. And to be honest, do you know what? July 30th, ladies and gents, if you're in the UK, that is a Saturday, so we haven't got to worry about being up unless you work in retail, obviously. If you work a normal Monday to Friday job, you can stay up if you want. You can watch it and not have to worry about being up, because obviously half the time it doesn't finish till 4 a.m. In this country, maybe 3:30, depending on how long it's going on. But it's been... I'm just excited about SummerSlam, really, is what I'm getting at. So, I appreciate a follow at In The Corner. On Twitter at In The Corner WWE. I'm still getting used to that. Eventually, I will get it right. We've got a few things I want to chat about quickly that I've seen pop up. Some news that's been flying around this week. Okay, so apparently Pat McAfee has signed a multi-year extension to his contract, and that is, to be honest, I'm going to admit right now. When I first started watching it back in, because I watch it on and off, but I never watch the weekly shows as much. Obviously, that's what I'm doing now, as much as I can. And based on what I've seen lately, is SmackDown, is probably the better show. Pretty much reminiscent of the 2002s, 2003s. SmackDown was the better show, and it seems like it is still. I've griped about this before, but I gripe about it for about 40 seconds. Raw is just too long. 3 hours is too long. We should have an hour and a half show. With ads, that's 2 hours. That way, when we come to a premium event, as they're not called pay-per-views anymore, we get a chance to actually sort of enjoy the pay-per-view. I think by having a 3 hour Raw, I think it takes away from the premium events, is what I'm getting at. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, he signed a multi-year extension on Thursday, actually, last week. And McAfee's been on there since April 2021, I believe, alongside Michael Cole. And at first I wasn't too sure about the guy, but do you know what? The more and more I've watched, the more and more I've heard his commentary. Okay, he's no JR or King, obviously, but, you know, he's one of the better ones today. And actually, with Michael Cole, he works really well, and I enjoy those two on commentary. Obviously, he's wrestled a few matches. He did that in NXT, I believe, in War Games, and obviously this year he had a great match against Theory. I mean, Theory plays that bad guy so well, obviously, but having Pat McAfee beat him at WrestleMania was quality. Not to the point of like where he's absolutely beat down Theory, just like a cheeky pin at the end. I thought it was the right way to do it, and just the atmosphere when McAfee came out was brilliant. So yeah, Pat McAfee. I think I think he's going to be at SummerSlam as well. We're going to be looking into the SummerSlam match card as I see it right now and what they've announced so far. I know there's stories building, and we could probably see a Becky Lynch, Belair possibly at SummerSlam. Now, if they do that, what I would quite like to see is a repeat of last SummerSlam, but Belair going over on Becky Lynch in seconds rather than the other way around. So just to get sort of that little payback. I know it only lasts for a couple of seconds, but I reckon it'd be quite good for the fans to see her just wipe out Becky Lynch and then have Becky Lynch try and claw back to the top, really. Some other news came out this week. So she literally started her article with "You can call me Saraya" now. So Paige is officially no longer part of WWE, and there's a brilliant article with her talking about her time and how she feels about everything on thePlayersTribune.com. And it was it was her last day and everything. Now, I'm sure many wrestling fans remember. Obviously, she came in. She was in NXT for a bit. She was NXT Women's Champion. Women's Champion, they called that, didn't they? And then she made a debut on Raw against AJ Lee. Now, something the film Fighting With My Family doesn't portray, because obviously it's dramatised a bit, is that the fact that this young woman was literally NXT Women's Champion, came to Raw, beat AJ Lee on her debut, and was basically... She had both belts, but yet on the main roster, they never really acknowledged it too much, apart from... I think JBL was GM of NXT at the time, and she did vacate the title. But on the main roster, they never mentioned it. But yet, when Kevin Owens came in and dropped Cena his first night, he had the NXT Championship with him. So I don't really know the thinking behind that back then. But, the film doesn't really portray that. But yeah, she was great. Do you know what? I don't know if it will ever happen again, but it would be cool to see her come back to WWE and maybe do something. It was a shame that her return a few years ago... just didn't... Well, she got an injury, didn't she? She got kicked in the back of the head in a house show, and it kind of caused her concussion and neck problems. Obviously, a little bit of hope when Bryan Danielson, obviously made a comeback after a couple of years of not being allowed to wrestle because of, concussions and stuff. So I always kind of had it in the back of my head that she would be back. The contract's over now. What she does next, I'm not sure. Is she going to be all elite? The way it's going, maybe. But it would be nice to have her back in some form or fashion in WWE at some point. But I love watching what she did in WWE. It's always cool to see somebody from the UK, to see a fellow United Kingdomer, if we'll call them from now on. It was cool to see someone from this country sort of make it big over there. And I know, like Sheamus isn't from I'm from England, so he's not from England, but he's from the UK. And to see someone from Ireland do really well in WWE, first Irish-born champion and stuff like that, just see European wrestlers in general, whether it's UK or not, whether it's Germany, wherever, to see our style translate over there in the US, and actually these men and women can become stars. I like it. So I'm sad that Saraya, aka Paige, is now no longer with WWE, but we hadn't seen her on TV for a long time, in fairness. But it would be nice to maybe see her back at some point. Who knows? Maybe she goes into the Hall of Fame next year. I don't know. Maybe she's not quite that level yet, but I think you can't deny what she actually achieved during that Divas era. With all those women coming up from NXT, followed by, Charlotte and all that. Becky, Bayley, Sasha, all these women coming up from NXT, after Paige was. I think she set the trend to a degree. But yeah, hopefully one day maybe we'll see her again. But maybe keep an eye on the AEW's socials, and we might see an AEW page. Maybe Saraya is All Elite or something. I don't know. We'll see. Wouldn't mind know what you think about Paige's career in WWE. Let me know at on Twitter in the corner WWE. Some of your favourite moments, maybe some of the low moments. I don't know, but I think she had a really good career. It seemed to be over really quickly. I think. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, let's get into this week's Raw and some of the higher moments I thought that were on Raw this week. I literally need that sound effect so I can have a drink, which I didn't grab my cup in time, so I can have a drink now. I need it, I'm talking so much. So Raw, something I literally just picked up just before I hit record, really, is that because obviously the Judgment Day had a bit of a setback. Obviously, they kicked Edge out of the group, and not long after, Rhea Ripley is out at the moment. But this week on Raw, the Judgment Day have actually tried to invite Dominic Mysterio to join their ranks, and they do mention it's going to be ultimately he says no, and they end up in a bit of a brawl. So maybe we're going to see the Judgment Day versus the Mysterios at SummerSlam, possibly. Also, Finn mentions the fact that Edge is gone and never coming back. Now, the segment was good. Obviously, I believe it's setting up something for SummerSlam, or maybe there's going to be a long-term story. I don't think so. I think we got 2.5 weeks, just over 2 weeks before SummerSlam. So more than likely, this is going to culminate at SummerSlam. Maybe I'm going to go through the match card in a moment, but. Finn mentions, as I said, Edge is no longer, he's never coming back and everything, but they have these promos running at the moment, which many of you have probably seen, and there's a lot of speculation over them. Some of them are saying Bray Wyatt and all this kind of stuff, but if you look in the video, and I'm sure that you've seen this already, you can see a license plate that says Latino Heat on it, you can see Dudley's glasses, you can see the Hardy's sleeves they used to wear, there's a gold medals hanging there, so the general consensus is that this is Edge. And it makes sense because Edge faced all those people in his career. Obviously, TLC, Edge and Eddie had a great ladder match on SmackDown in 2000. I think it was 2002. And Edge has faced Angle, obviously, the head shave and everything, your bold chants and all that going on, or the you suck chant he did as well. So, logically speaking, what we've seen in the video, I think it's going to be Edge. Don't get me wrong, if Fiend / Bray Wyatt came back to WWE, I'd love that as well, as long as they don't keep chopping the legs from underneath him. Because they keep building Bray Wyatt back in the day, or the Fiend, and then they just he loses. It's like, why have you built this person? And to have him lose against Goldberg and stuff like that, it didn't make any sense. I felt like this is a long-term character that you could have done a lot more with, and it just didn't quite get there for some reason. But yeah, I think those promos are Edge. I think do you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I'm 98% sure this is Edge. And I'm also going to go out on a limb here and say that I believe two things here. I believe Edge will return at SummerSlam. He has teamed with Rey Mysterio before. They were tag team champions back in the day. So there's a link there. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there is a link there. Maybe he'll get involved in the Mysterio's match. Like I said, I believe they're going for a tag team match possibly. Rhea's out at the moment. I don't know when she's going to be returning. We're going to have a quick update on Rhea in a moment. But the promo video is pretty good. I've actually got the promo video. It's on YouTube, and I put the link in the podcast description. So if you want to have a look at it, give it a look if you haven't seen it. And you've got to freeze frame it, but I can tell you those things I said about the license plate and stuff, they're in that video. You've got to pause it at certain places, but it's definitely there. I'm a bit of a nerd on that one, but yeah, I'm 98% sure this is Edge. The thing I think is going to happen is Edge is either going to return at SummerSlam, or he'll return on Raw the next night. It would make sense more to do it at SummerSlam. It's one of the biggest events. SummerSlam is like, you got WrestleMania, which is the big spectacle, and I feel like SummerSlam is almost like the wrestling fans' WrestleMania, if that makes any sense to anybody. It makes sense to me. I think I've put it a good way. I don't know. But yeah, the Judgment Day tried to get Dominic Mysterio, basically calling out Rey, saying he's old, he's been there 20 years, it's time to go home, basically. And they end up in a bit of a brawl on Raw. Finn, I'm actually enjoying at the moment. We haven't seen much of the Judgment Day, to be honest, or at least I haven't. Since the Edge, was kicked out, and then Rhea's now gone. Rhea was obviously supposed to be at Money in the Bank, but couldn't. But yeah, Finn is a bad guy. Could be really interesting. And Damian Priest wasn't too bad on the mic either. So there's potential for this group to do something. The background to the group was when Edge started it. My belief was, if you look at it, Edge had a haircut and everything. That almost like a cult type thing. But apparently the backstage gossip is that they wanted to take the group in a supernatural route. And Edge, allegedly, Adam Copeland, didn't agree with this. So in order to sort this out, I guess, they kicked Edge out. That's obviously a rumor. I don't know if that's true. Anybody can confirm, or anybody, if you know anybody who works at WWE that's willing to talk to me, bring it on. Let's have it. Yeah, check out the promo. The link will be in the description of the podcast. Okay, right then. So Rhea Ripley update. So Rhea Ripley, obviously, she's a Judgment Day star. She became part of the group alongside Damian and Finn Balor after kicking out Edge. Obviously, she last wrestled on the June 6th episode of Raw, I believe, and she was revealed to have. Well, she was pulled off from Money in the Bank, which is what I said. But she was unable to compete on June 20th after revealing she needed dental surgery after a mid-match mistake in the last outing. So, some teeth missing, I guess. But then there's been a picture this week on social, which I saw, and it wasn't until I read the comments, well, I didn't even pick up on it, to be honest with you, so thank you for the internet. Sometimes you're very helpful. She's out with brain and teeth injuries, so I'm guessing maybe a concussion. But also in the picture, she's wearing a heart monitor. Now, whether this is something that doctors have asked her to wear to monitor her, or whether it was, is it some sort of exercise thing where you attach it to your phone or whatever? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. But apparently she got brain and teeth injuries, which I was not aware of until finding this earlier. So when she's back, I have no idea. Maybe she'll be back at SummerSlam. That'd be cool to maybe see that. But hopefully she'll be back soon. The main event this week on Raw was Riddle, Bobby Lashley versus Theory. So Theory and Seth freaking Rollins on this past week on Raw. Was a good main event, to be fair. During the break, as the match was going on, Dolph Ziggler came out and sat ringside, which last time I saw Dolph Ziggler, he was kind of doing some stuff in NXT. Obviously, he became NXT champion as well. I figured he was outside there to possibly cause some trouble, in a sense of maybe join Theory. But as the match goes on, Theory goes for a roll-up on Riddle. Theory puts his feet on the middle ropes, and then out of nowhere, Dolph Ziggler knocks off Theory's legs. Theory doesn't like this, and takes the RKO from Riddle, and then Riddle and the United States champion Bobby Lashley walk out winners. So, yeah, it was quite surprising, really. Then as that's going on, there out the ringside, there is a funny moment. Bobby Lashley pushes Riddle to celebrate, but he actually knocks Riddle on his ass, and it's absolutely. I thought there was a turn going, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on? Oh no, it's not happening." Okay, so yeah, that was quite funny actually. If you watch out back, he does push him before. I don't know if he trips. It looks like he pushed him anyway. But the Raw goes off the air with Dolph Ziggler after super kicking Theory, and it's just like, whoa, how? So this is cool. So. A face Dolph Ziggler would be really good. I rated Dolph Ziggler for a long time. One of my favourite cash-ins ever is Dolph Ziggler cashing on Del Rio the night after Mania. The pop is amazing. The crowd love it, and I absolutely loved it. And it was so long before he cashed that in, so it was so cool to see that happen. Shame his title run didn't last long. I think he ended up getting concussioned, but such a shame, really. And the top of the show. Top of the show, we had Brock Lesnar coming out, and literally we have the Usos and Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman saying he's going to basically tell Roman to, if he has to, reach up through Brock Lesnar's ass, which they don't block out on Raw Talk on the network, but they did bleep it on the actual broadcast, obviously, and pull out his heart. So I was quite surprised they said that, really. Brock says a few things here and there, not a lot, to be fair. Alpha Academy come out. Chad Gable tries to chop block Brock, and then Otis tries to knock him down, doesn't go down, and then Brock proceeds to beat the holy crap out of Alpha Academy. It always surprises me they start the shows with like that big moment, and they never start with a match anymore, which is fine. I get it. Sometimes they do, but rarely, because they want to build up the story, don't they? I guess. But what happened to tuning into a wrestling show and actually seeing a wrestling match as soon as it started? I know there's reasons for it, but sometimes it would be nice just to see a wrestling match, as soon as the show starts. Because when I say Otis and Chad come out, what I should have said was Theory came out first, and Chad and Otis tried to jump him. Theory teasing that he's going to cash that in at SummerSlam, either on Brock or Roman. He doesn't care. So yeah, well, I mean, it would be interesting. I think we're probably going to see it. I reckon there's a 75% chance that Theory cashes in at SummerSlam. As I said, I put a question out earlier on Twitter. What are your thoughts on? Should Theory cash in at SummerSlam? Witticisms of Ben. But as for Theory, I don't think he will cash in at SummerSlam. Play the arrogant heel for a bit longer. Now, he is really good at it, so I agree with that. Now, this is what I never thought. I didn't even think of this, because my assumption is that you cash in for the WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship, the unified one, obviously. But Witticisms of Ben, it may be a good way of getting one of the belts off Reigns. So does that contract actually let him have a double title match, or is it only for the WWE title, or is it only for the Universal title? So that's actually a good thought. I never even thought of that. Now, whether they do that, I don't know. My logic says to me that is now one belt. They've unified it. So obviously Roman, last I saw him, he was still carrying both belts. So an interesting theory there, no pun intended, from Witticisms of Ben on Twitter. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Like I said, I didn't even think of that. So could he ununify Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar? Because their Brock Lesnar match in the Last Man Standing match is for the Undisputed Championship. So it's an interesting theory, Ben. It's an interesting theory. One I hadn't thought of. And every time I say theory, you must have a drink of your choice. But it has to be alcohol. Right then, so I think that's about it, really. We're going to look at the... Because we'll have a SummerSlam prediction show, the week before. See if we can get our predictions right over here on In the Corner with myself. I'll try and get a guest on for that, and we'll try and do some predictions for that. SummerSlam is July 30th, as I said earlier. It's on Saturday, which is good, because it means I get to stay up and watch it and not have to worry about being up. Obviously, it's kind of been announced, I think, this week and last week. You kind of see it coming anyway. But Miz is going to be facing Logan Paul. Something I did see on Raw, what I never thought really, that there's such an odd couple, Tommaso Ciampa and Miz teaming up. You wouldn't have thought that, but weirdly it works. Tommaso Ciampa probably going to be the muscle for Miz, really. But Tommaso Ciampa obviously was a great champion, NXT champion and stuff, and can have some excellent matches. So yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting couple, and I don't know where they're going to go with that. But at the moment, weirdly, I'm liking it. It is kind of like chalk and cheese, but weirdly, I think it works. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But Logan Paul is going to be at SummerSlam. Now, I'm not really a fan of Logan Paul, in fairness. I know certain things about him. Despite what you think about him at WrestleMania, I'm not saying he was perfect, but he looked pretty good in the ring. It does not beat Ronda Rousey's debut at WrestleMania, but he was pretty good in the ring. He looked like he could work. So let's see how he does at SummerSlam. SummerSlam's going to be the test for him, because I believe at the moment, as it stands, it's going to be Miz versus Logan Paul. Quite honestly, I thought Logan Paul would make more of a heel rather than a face, but we'll see how it goes. United States Championship match, Bobby Lashley versus Theory, a rematch from Money in the Bank. And do you know what? The Money in the Bank match was really good. I enjoyed that. I think I said that on the actual show itself. I I'm interested to see where that goes. Does Theory pick it up? If Theory picks it up, I'm going to probably... What my logic is here is that the Theory will lose and not cash in, or we can, otherwise we could have Theory as United States champion. He cashes in and becomes undisputed champion. That guy's going to have so much championships around him, he won't know where to turn. But yeah, I don't know. As I said, what did I say? 75% of him cashing in possibly at SummerSlam. It makes sense. The two behemoths going at it in a last man standing match. Quite interesting. If he cashes in theory, again, no pun intended, that would make it a triple threat match. I don't think there's ever been a triple threat last man standing match, as far as I'm aware. But it also could be quite funny if he cashed in. They're both down. Theory cashes in, and it's now a triple threat last man standing match, and the other two are down, and he stood up, and the referee just counts 10, so he doesn't do anything. How much will you hate that guy if that happens? So that could be the way they go. I have never know. SmackDown Women's Championship at the moment, as it stands, there's going to be a Championship Contenders match this Friday on SmackDown between Natalya and Liv. I'm guessing it will be maybe a triple threat. I don't know if Natalya wins. But as it's set at the moment, as I'm looking at it, is Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. I believe they'll probably make this a triple threat because that's a good way of keeping no disrespect to her. But with Ronda Rousey in the match, maybe they'll do it so Natalya takes the loss and then Liv retains, maybe. I don't know. We'll get into that more as we know about it. I did also ask, what do you think of Liv being champion? Now, me personally, I absolutely loved it. I was not expecting her to cash in on the same night. I really was not. I loved it when she won it, and I loved it even more when she became champion. I believed this should have happened a long time ago, but it's the right time. She's now champion, which is brilliant. I'm just hoping she's not a transitional champion, and hopefully she will keep the belt through SummerSlam. You know, I wanted to keep it for a little bit, sort of build up that legacy of Liv Morgan, really. You know, if she does go one-on-one with Ronda and she comes out victorious, that will set her up for the future. Wisdoms of Ben also had a comment about Liv Morgan. Absolutely fine with Liv being champion. Well deserved. Looking forward to... so that's this is what he thinks going to happen. So he thinks Liv's going to retain the title and possibly a Liv and Bailey feud, maybe a just double turn, he thinks. So that's quite out there in the future, Ben, but you could be right there, man. Could be right. I've already mentioned Brock, and obviously it's a last man standing match between Brock and Roman Reigns, obviously. I've already kind of touched upon that, to be fair. Going to be, hopefully it is the last time these two meet because they face each other so much. I don't really know what more these guys can do, really, to be honest. Again, we'll do a prediction show closer with the week before. I was about to give you a prediction, but I'm not going to. Or is it a spoiler? I don't know. One of the best matches at Money in the Bank, I think I said it on the podcast, was the Usos versus the Street Profits. Excellent match. Loved it. Was not aware of how the finish went until they showed that replay. Montez Ford's shoulder was up, so we're going to have a rematch at SummerSlam, which we already discussed that was going to happen. Apparently, well, not apparently, it's been announced there's going to be a special referee who has not been announced yet, so there's going to be a special ref in this Unified Tag Team Championship match. Now, I will admit, I have no idea who's coming up to do this, who's going to do it. The one that makes sense, but I mean, what a screw job it would be, is Sefa Fatu, who's in NXT at the moment, who's actually the younger brother of the Usos. There is rumours of him being called up to the main roster. Whether this happens at SummerSlam or whether this happens after, I don't know. So there's going to be an outside factor here. There's going to be a special referee for the Undisputed Unified Tag Team Championships at SummerSlam. I have no idea who's going to win it. Again, we'll do the predictions a week before, on the Tuesday before SummerSlam. But yeah, like I said, he's actually the younger brother of the Usos, really. I mean, there's some good stuff on Raw this week. I wouldn't say. I mean, the main event was brilliant. I loved it. So the show's too long, man. Honestly, it's just again, like I said, it's just too long sometimes. Brock opening up the show was good. He did what Brock did. Within the first 15 minutes of the show, put Oates through a table. The main event was good. And generally, there was some good stuff throughout, but nothing really to make me go, like, this is a 5-star Raw or anything. But we're building to SummerSlam, and that's where the action's going to be, isn't it, at the end of the day? Some great stuff over there. And I think, again, like I said earlier, I think SmackDown is probably the better show of the two. And I think it has been, since they did this brand extension thing, again, SmackDown has slowly built up the rep they have for the wrestling over there. And obviously Roman being Universal Champion for a while was absolutely amazing. So, and now he's the unified champion. The Street Profits did take and R-Truth took on the Usos and Omos. That was quite good. Bianca Belair did take on Carmella. Again, good match. AJ Styles, Ezekiel took on Tommaso Ciampa and Miz. Again, that's quite a good. It's a weird pairing, I think, with Miz and Tommaso, but I think it, for some reason, it just works. I don't know why it works, but it does. And one thing I didn't mention really is Becky. Oh, did I mention it? Becky Lynch wanting a women's title match. Obviously, Rey Mysterio versus Finn was a good match, actually, in fairness. But again, nothing on the show really stood out to me like you need to watch this Raw. We are building the stories. We're getting there, and we're aiming towards SummerSlam, to be totally honest with you. And that's the general sort of gist is what we want, isn't it? We're aiming for it. I mean, SmackDown this week could be good. We've got Liv in a Champions Contenders match, even though she's a champion. I'm guessing there's going to be a triple threat component to that. But as it stands, the card apparently does say it's going to be Liv versus Ronda, but obviously we'll see how it pans out. Obviously things do change in wrestling quite a lot, so we'll just wait and see, yeah. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for listening to the show. I've managed to rant for 32 minutes, roughly. Thank you very much. Please give me a follow on Twitter at In The Corner WWE, and give SJP World Media a follow, and we'll see you again next time for In The Corner with Benny Mac. Thanks for listening.